Some betrayals don't wear a mask. They laugh with you. They raise your children. They sit across the dinner table. And when they strike, they don't go for your heart. They go for your soul. Tobi Adewale was a man of strength and loyalty. He built a life from nothing. He gave love with his whole chest. He trusted the wrong person. And some seeds, no matter how much you water them, will never grow in your garden. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and quiet pain. Tobi sat on the waiting chair, hands trembling, shirt soaked in sweat from carrying his son, Dara. The boy had collapsed on the football field. One minute he was laughing, the next he was flat on the ground like a fallen branch. Tobi gave his blood to save him. He didn't think twice. Now he was waiting outside the emergency room, alone, staring at the white doors like they might open with answers. When the nurse finally came out, she held a file close to her chest like it weighed 1,000 secrets. "Mr. Adewale," she said. Tobi stood immediately. "Is my son okay?" "He's stable. He's breathing." Tobi sighed in relief. "Thank God." But the nurse didn't smile. "There's something else," she said quietly. "We ran your blood for transfusion, but the blood types don't match." Tobi frowned. "What does that mean?" She opened the file. "Medically speaking, there's no way Dara is your biological son." Tobi's world froze. He took the file with shaky hands. He couldn't understand the medical codes, but one word repeated over and over, mismatch. He handed the file back, nodded, and walked out without another word. The drive home felt strange. The city was loud. Life went on like nothing had changed. But everything had. His son, his Dara, was not really his son. He started to wonder, if Dara wasn't his, what about the others? Junior, Amaka, the twins. He shook the thought away. "No," he whispered. Adora wouldn't do this. Adora was his rock. She was there when he had nothing. She sold bananas to help him pay rent. She stuck with him through hunger and shame. She wouldn't lie about something this serious. Would she? He reached home at sunset. The compound was quiet. Inside, Adora was humming in the kitchen, cooking okra soup. She turned, smiled warmly, and said, "You're back." He kissed her forehead, said nothing. She served him food. He ate in silence. "How's Dara?" she asked. "He's fine," Tobi said. "He's resting." "Ah, God is good," she smiled. But Tobi couldn't smile back. Something had shifted. Something inside him had gone cold. That night, he stood in front of the mirror, shirt off. He touched his chest and whispered, "Are you really mine?" His children had slept on this chest. They called him Daddy. He had believed it with his whole heart. But now he needed the truth. Quietly, carefully, he would find out without saying a word. Tobi moved like a ghost in his own home. He smiled at the kids, kissed Adeora's cheek, laughed at the dinner table. But inside, he was on fire. He booked a fake trip to Abuja for a construction meeting. Adora helped him pack. But Tobi didn't go to the airport. He drove to a small hospital outside Lagos, a quiet place. No one knew his name. He gave the doctor hair samples, toothbrushes, old medical slips, one for each child. "I need you to run DNA tests," he said calmly. "Compare them with mine. I'll pay double. This must stay secret." The results came back 5 days later. 5 envelopes, each stamped in red, an O match. Junior, not his. Amaka, not his. Dara, not his. The twins, not his. Tobi didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just sat in his office, holding the papers, reading them again and again, as if they might change if he blinked long enough. They didn't. That night, he went to rooftop. He looked up at the stars and whispered, "God, was my whole life a lie?" He thought of school fees, the hugs, the birthday cakes, the way they called him Daddy. He had loved them deeply, but could he still love them now? He didn't have the answer. A month later, he shared the truth with his 3 best friends, Segan, Dare, and Fola. They had been through life together. University hustle, building dreams. When he finished speaking, they were quiet. Dare said, "Tobi, leave that woman." Fola added, "5 kids, bro. 5 lives. That's not a mistake. It's war." Segan, quiet and calm, said, "If you won't divorce her, then at least have your own child, one who truly carries your blood." Tobi said nothing, but something inside him agreed. Tobi met Adora and Yaba back when life was hard and money was a dream. She sold groundnuts and water near a dirty gutter. She wasn't flashy, but her strength pulled him in. She cooked with 1 Maggi cube and called it stew. He walked job sites with worn-out shoes and called it hustle. When he finally made it, landed a real contract, he proposed with a silver ring and a bottle of malt. She cried. He promised her the world, and he gave it to her. But what Tobi never knew was that Kola, his closest friend, had touched her first. Before Tobi ever met her, Kola had already been in her life. And even after Tobi married her, the affair didn't end. It just went quiet. Kola never called her late, never sent her gifts, but they kept meeting in secret, like a bad habit neither could break. Tobi trusted them both. He never saw the looks they shared. He never knew the first child, Junior, wasn't his. But Kola knew, and so did Adora. At Junior's naming ceremony, they shared one glance. Just one. That was all it took. More children came. More lives followed. And Tobi? He lived in the dark, smiling. He fed a house full of strangers and didn't know he was starving inside. But lies don't live forever. One blood test can destroy years of silence. Tobi stopped waiting for justice. He stopped waiting for explanations. The truth was already in his hands, and it was heavier than grief. But he couldn't leave, not because he loved Adora, but because he loved peace, and he wasn't ready to set the house on fire. His friends kept pushing him. "Start over quietly," Dare said. "Have a real child," Kola whispered again, "before it's too late." Tobi resisted for a while. It felt like cheating, even if he was the one betrayed. But every night, one question followed him like a ghost. If I die today, who carries my blood? That month, he found the land. A quiet plot outside of Badon. No neighbors. No noise. Just trees and sky. He called it the guest house. But really, it was a backup plan. He built it in silence. Used a different construction team. Paid them well and made them swear to secrecy. He planted trees before the roof was even done. Dug a well himself. He wasn't just building a house. He was building a future no one could steal. Then at a charity event in Ilorin, he met Zainab. She wasn't loud. She didn't try to impress anyone. She sold handmade soaps near the church fence. She had no makeup on, but her smile had peace. Her voice was soft. Her eyes calm. Tobi bought soap, then came back again. And again, by the 3rd visit, she already knew how he liked his tea. He didn't tell her everything. But one day he said, "I've made mistakes, but I still want peace. Would you walk with me slowly?" Zainab smiled and replied, "If we walk with God, I'll walk with you." Tobi knew then this wasn't a woman of games. This was a woman of peace. They married quietly. No crowd. No drama. He built her a prayer room in a new house. He wanted her to feel safe. In that house, he also built a hidden vault buried beneath the floor. Inside, he placed all 5 DNA test results, his real will, land documents, copies of forged medical records, a letter simply addressed to my true wife. Zainab didn't know what was inside. He only told the concrete, sleep here until the truth wakes up. Zainab notices sadness, but she never pushed. Instead, she prayed, God, keep this house, keep this man, and when the storm comes, let me stand. But in Lagos, Adora had started to notice things. Tobi's smile was still there, but colder. His prayers were longer. His hugs felt distant. And when Kola told her, he's building something with another woman, her world cracked open. Adora didn't argue. When Tobi came home that night, she kissed his cheek like nothing was wrong. She cooked his favorite soup, bitter leaf and goat meat. She smiled, served him, watched him eat. But in her chest, there was a storm. Later that night, Tobi sat on the edge of the bed, staring into space. Adora walked in slowly. Her smile was gone. I know, she said. Tobi didn't turn. Know what? Her voice dropped. About the tests. He looked at her now. She looked back, eyes tired. How long have you known? Tobi didn't answer. She stepped closer. You should have asked me. I was going to, he said quietly. But I wanted the truth, not excuses. Adeora's face twisted. So you run off and find another woman? You think that fixes anything? She gave me peace, he replied. Something you haven't given me in years. Silence. Adora looked at him. So what happens now? Tobi stood. Nothing. I won't shame you. I won't shame the children. But I'm done pretending. He walked past her. She stood there alone, heart beating fast, mind spinning. That night, she put something in his tea, just a little powder, just enough to weaken. When Tobi began to feel dizzy, she whispered, You could have stayed, but you chose her. Then, with hands shaking, she picked up a fine hot pressing iron and brought it down again and again. Tobi never screamed. The drug was too strong. But his eyes, they screamed for him. He died staring at the woman he once built an empire for. She didn't cry. She waited 2 minutes. Then she screamed, loud enough to wake the street. She tore her clothes, ran outside barefoot, pulled at her hair. He's chasing me. Tobi is chasing me. Get him away from me. People gathered. Some prayed. Some panicked. The doctor she once paid to fake medical reports came back into the picture. She's not well, he told the police. She needs care, not cuffs. They believed him. Tobi's body was buried, quietly. No justice, no questions. Just a widow who stared into space like her mind was broken. But some people weren't fooled, and some shadows were still watching. Zainab didn't hear the news from the family. She saw Tobi in a dream. He sat in the corner of her prayer room, bloody, quiet, eyes full of pain. He whispered, Protect what's mine. She woke up crying. 3 days later, a quiet call confirmed the truth. Tobi is gone. She didn't break, but she didn't sleep for nights either. She was not invited to the funeral. No one said her name. But inside her belly, Tobi's child was growing. She cried, quietly, not just for the man, but for the silence that buried him. Zainab went to a few trusted relatives of Tobi. They were shocked, suspicious, curious. She showed them their quiet wedding certificate, voice notes, photos, her baby bumps. Some still doubted. One uncle said, Blood speaks louder than words. Zainab looked him in the eye, then let blood speak. The family demanded tests, one medical, one spiritual. She agreed. She sat through the rituals, the bitter leaves, the chants. She drank what they gave her. She bathed as they asked. Then the DNA result came in. The child was Tobi's. An elder with tears in his eyes said, "This baby is the only light left from Tobi's fire." Zainab was no longer hidden, but she still didn't smile, because in her dreams, Tobi was still sitting in that corner, still whispering. And the truth he left behind, it was waiting. Under the floor of the house he built with love. In the village, they say, when a man dies with truth in his mouth, the wind will carry his voice. Zainab couldn't sleep. Every night, Tobi came back in her dreams. Same corner, same silence, same broken eyes. But on the fifth night, his whisper changed. Go to the house. Alone. She listened. She lit a small lamp and walked through the guest house. The house was still. The air felt heavy. She entered the prayer room. The scent of old incense still lingered. Zainab knelt. Tobi, if you left something for me, show me. I'm ready. Suddenly, the lamp flickered, once, twice, and went off. But in the final second of light, she noticed something odd on the floor. A tile slightly raised. She moved it. Underneath, she found a handle. She pulled it open, and inside was everything. Documents, DNA test results, property papers, medical files, all neatly stored. There was a sealed envelope addressed, "To my true wife." Zainab fell to her knees, weeping, not just because she found the truth, but because even in death, Tobi had remembered her. The next morning, she visited Barrister Ada, Tobi's old lawyer. She dropped the files on his desk. He opened one, looked at her, and said, "Zainab, this is enough to shake the whole country." She looked up, calm but determined. "Then let's shake it." Barrister Ada didn't waste time. He called 5 trusted investigators, private, experienced, and quiet. He gave them no names, just one line. A dead man's story was buried. We're digging it up. 2 detectives posed as wealthy clients and visited the corrupt doctor. They acted friendly, careless, like rich people looking for discreet help. The doctor smiled and bragged. Some truths can be covered to keep peace. He didn't know their pen had a hidden recorder. At the same time, other agents targeted Kola and the remaining friends. They posed as foreign investors trying to buy Tobi's company. Kola showed them forged documents. Confident, smooth, he didn't know the signature had already been confirmed as fake. Zainab stayed quiet, praying, watching, waiting. Tobi's relatives now came around more often, some out of guilt, some out of curiosity. An old uncle sat with her one evening, sipping palm wine. "Your eyes carry fire," he said. He chose well. She didn't smile, but the baby in her belly kicked. A sign. Then came a breakthrough. One camera in the guest house, long forgotten, had survived. They pulled the memory card. When they played it, they saw it. Adora, the poison tea. Tobi collapsing. Her whispering to him. Then the hot pressing iron. Silence. A detective took off his glasses and said, "We don't need ghosts anymore. The truth is alive." But fear was growing in Kola's heart. He started sensing things. Too many quiet faces. Too many long stares. And fear? It makes greedy men dangerous. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, strangers, neighbors, everyone whispering the same story. The woman who killed her husband, the friend who stole his life, the second wife who brought the truth. Zainab entered quietly. No makeup, no jewelry, just calm strength. Barrister Ada walked beside her, briefcase full of fire. Kola entered from the other side. No more golden suits, no swagger, just a pale face and shaky hands. He couldn't look at Zainab, but she looked at him with steady eyes. The judge came in. Old, respected, known for one thing. He fears no money. Then the truth started falling, one document at a time. First, the DNA results. All 5 children, not Tobi's. The courtroom gasped. Then the video. Aore giving poison tea. Tobi collapsing. The murder. Someone fainted. The courtroom was dead silent. Then came the forged company documents. The mismatched signatures. The fake sales. Then the biggest blow. Tobi's real will from a vault. To my beloved Zainab, and to my child if he lives, I leave everything. Kola's hands began to shake, but it wasn't over. Detective Sola stood up, pressed play on a voice recorder. Kola's voice filled the room. He was blind. We took what he couldn't protect. Then laughter, then silence. The judge looked over his glasses. In a soft but firm voice, he said, Kola Aladil, guilty of fraud, conspiracy, and indirect murder of Chief Tobi Adewale, sentenced to life in prison. The gavel hit the desk, a sound like thunder. Outside, the sun shined like it hadn't in weeks. Tobi's name was cleared, his child was safe, and the woman he trusted, even in death, had kept her promise. Back at the guest house, that night, she sat in silence and whispered, It's done, Tobi. Rest now. Your name is clean. The wind blew softly through the window, and for the first time, her dreams were quiet. Before the sun rose, while the world was still dark, Zainab stepped barefoot onto the red soil behind the guest house. The ground was cool. Her belly was round. Her heart was full, not with sadness, but something deeper, a quiet strength. She knelt down, and she spoke, not to herself, not to the wind, but to the man who had loved her in silence and protected her in secret. Tobi, I kept the promise. I didn't let them bury your truth. A soft breeze passed. It brushed her cheek like a warm hand. 2 weeks later, the baby was born, a quiet boy with serious eyes, too serious for a child. They named him Hafiz. My lord has returned. The compound erupted with joy. Old women danced barefoot. Music played until dusk. One half-blind elder touched the baby's toes and said, This child walks with his father's spirit. Zainab didn't fight for power or property. She handed over Tobi's company to one of his humble nephews, a man with a clean heart and good hands. All she asked was simple. Run it the way he lived, with honesty, not pride. Aore died months later. Alone, forgotten, she talked to walls until her last breath. Her children never came to visit. The villagers buried her behind the old clinic. A goat now sleeps on her grave. Kola's story ended in silence. He screamed every night in prison. He swore Tobi's ghost stood in his cell corner, watching, waiting. One night, they found him on the ground, neck broken, after jumping from the 3rd floor. Some said he was running from a ghost. Some said the ghost forgave him. No one really cared. Zainab never remarried. She raised Hafiz with love, prayer, and stories, not of wealth, but of truth. On his 10th birthday, she brought out the final letter from the vault, Tobi's last words. She read it aloud. If you're reading this, I'm gone. But if God let me leave anything behind, let it be a child raised in truth. My love for you, Zainab, never needed a stage. And to my child, you are the last promise I ever made to the earth. Zainab cried when she finished, but it wasn't sad. It was full. In African stories, ghosts don't vanish. They walk beside us. They show up in flickering candles, soft winds, children who smile at nothing. Sometimes when the wind brushes your face, or when the night goes quiet too suddenly. It's a man like Tobi Adewale, still watching, still protecting, still keeping his promise.